Hello and welcome to another episode of Let's Drone Out. Tonight you are joined by our Lord and Master Frank,
Good evening.
everyone's favourite Craig Hitton,
Hello.
my buddy Cole,
Howdy.
and I'm Bright Till I Fly.
You've flown.
What? Me?
Who has?
Yeah, Jack, have you flown?
No.
But you're not in Brighton, so judging by your name, you must have flown. That's the rules, right?
No, it's not how
It's
it
always
works.
windy, so his hair may have flown.
Yeah.
Flown up a motorway.
Yeah.
I flew a DJI Mini 2 today in the crazy wind.
Did you get it back?
Surprisingly, yes, I did.
Well done.
It kept giving me all these warnings, like you are in a heavy wind. You cannot automatically return to home. I'm like, oh well, good thing I know how to fly this thing,
Why can't it automatically return to home in heavy wind?
right? That's what
You
I
can
thought.
fly at home. Why can't it fly at home?
I know. It's so weird.
Have you found that you're starting to fight the controls now that you know how to fly manual? Or are you finding it like a bit more comfortable and know that you can kind of bring it home yourself?
Well, so it's like two things. I used to be a thumber for the Mavics, but since I started FPV, I'm a pincher with FPV, so now I'm a pincher with Mavics, which is a bit odd. But I don't know. I do feel like I can before I started an FPV, I feel like I would do like one control or command at a time. I would be like, I'd go up, or I'd go forward, or I'd go side to side. Well, after flying FPV, I'm a lot more comfortable mixing, both sticks, I guess. So I can do some up and forward or down, forward, and roll the gimbal. So I don't know, just was that ambidextrous, or what's the term?
Does it count as cross controls if it's flying a Mavic? I feel like that's maybe pushing that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's weird too because I actually try to get more out of the Mavic than I know that I can, because I know that it's kind of like, I don't know. It's still a great tool and it's still fun to fly, but I don't know. I can only really fly one battery nowadays. I'm like, okay, I've been up here for 30 minutes and this is super boring. It looks nice to the general audience, but yeah, it's a little bit. I'm like, why do I have the fly more combo? I can't sit here for an hour and a half of up, down, side, side, forward, backwards. Yeah, it's right tool for the job, or if you want to get certain type of shots. But I guess I was talking to some guys and they were saying, for long-ish range, Mavics are great. It's not quite the same experience of an FPV drone, but yeah.
Yeah, horses for courses, right? What was this for, like a professional job?
No, this was literally just me. I was like, well, the leaves are changing. I'm probably not going to get too many more opportunities, so I had to do some groceries, and I was like, well, I'll before that I'll do a little 30-minute boring Mavic Mini flight.
What you can't do is say, I know, I'll go and fly my Mavic for fun.
Yeah,
Because that would be pointless. If you got like, oh, the leaves look nice, maybe I'll take an aerial picture of them. But now I need to use this battery and I've got another 20 minutes to fly.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Just go around in circles and stuff. I find it interesting that you're pinching. This is like the one drone you could fly pretty much with your feet and get the same results.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels more comfortable now. And I found that when the resistance on the sticks, because they're both spring loaded and fairly tight. I find when I'm using my thumbs, I almost like, I don't want to say I get like, it just, I don't know, something feels a bit off about it, having so much like fighting me, I guess, because throttle, I'm not used to you know, I mean, I have a
Not the
somewhat.
throttle, it's the up-down stick. It's a difference.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I don't know if I can go back to thumbing, I guess. I tried thumbing on FPV, but it just didn't work out for me, so I've just been pinching ever since.
Yeah. Weirdness.
Yeah.
As Caroline
You
says, it's for presenting a subject.
Yeah.
It is. They are good tools, but not fun.
No.
I think of it as like I can go back and forth between like not that I've flown it for a while, a Mavic and an FPV drone quite easily because they're so different.
Mhm.
One is you're just pushing a tripod around the sky, and you don't even think about pushing forward because of course the camera angle doesn't change. It's because of the gimbal.
Yeah.
And the other is actually like flying stuff. So it's I find it pretty easy to transition without even thinking about it. It's just like we're going over here.
Yep.
That's
Oh,
it.
EBR, he's saying thumbs for the win. You know what? One thing I've been watching is I've been watching a lot of freestyle guys, and when they post their stick cam, or is that what it's? Yeah, when they their stick cam footage, a lot of the freestyle guys are thumbers. It looks like, and I don't know if maybe it gives you a bit more freedom because I find with pinching, you know, you do have to kind of coordinate. Like, I don't know, your thumb almost has more range than you having to actually move your hands a bit, you know? So I don't know if maybe with the thumbs you can, you know, I don't know, just speculating, but
I guess it's what people just get used to.
yeah.
I tried pinching, but it didn't make sense to me because I've been playing video games for the last 40 years using my thumbs. I can't just like, oh, I'll do this on my Xbox now. It seems equivalent to doing it on my radio. So it's like, no, we're sticking with thumbs.
Yeah, well, actually, now that you mentioned video games, when I do play Xbox, I'm a thumber. I don't use you can't pinch joysticks on an Xbox. That's just because that would take away from your.
And the dead zone on them is this big anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
No, you don't need like precision like that. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe one of these days I'll try thumbing again just to see what it's like. But it's
maybe we ought to all go out and try. I say this delicately. We also ought to go out and try fingering. We hold our radios like this, and we try flying with fingers. How would that work? That would be weird.
That would be weird. I see. For me, my so I pinch like this when I'm like with my first two, but my middle finger is always kind of near the not on the disarm button, but like is sort of near it if I need to. So, you know, if I come in for a landing, I'm not like, okay, take fingers off the throttle, reach over, press the, you know, disarm. It's more like, okay, I'm flying. Okay, I'm coming in for the landing. Boom, disarm with my middle finger. So it's, yeah, I don't know. Oh man, Off Axis said, "Come fly in BC, bro." Dude, I would love to fly in BC, man. I have this like huge yearning for like long range mountain flying. I've never done it before, so damn, yeah.
True. I mean, if you're going to visit Canada, BC, Alberta, just not where Cole lives. That's the crappy bit.
Yeah, pretty much. There are some lovely spots around here, but yeah, there's no real mountains like on the West Coast. And it's funny because I was born in Edmonton, which is, you know, out there on the west, but yeah, I haven't flown out there yet, but one day.
That's cool. I flew this week as well. Can you believe it? And I trusted the weather forecast. Yeah, 20 minutes because I was flying.
Wow.
I tried to redo my mini Talon from since last time. So I've got my old Vector autopilot on it, and I was using Express LRS, and I wanted to see if I could make LQ and RSSI actually work. So I tried to push the telemetry from it down a channel and say, "This is your LQ." I don't know how it's going to work though. Let's see what happens. And it kind of worked because I sort of, it says like, oh, it's at 100. That's good. My radio says 100 as well. How do I make it change different? So I went and put the radio in the microwave, as you do, because that's quite well shielded, and it will drop the signal quite quickly. And it seemed I had my OSD there on a screen, with the thing in the microwave, and I'm like, yeah, they're both dropping. Look, that's good. But when I got to the field and flew it and got to like 2 kilometers and stuff, I was like, check the telemetry, 100. Check the LQ on the OSD, 98. I was like, okay, it's scaled it funny, but it seems to work. It was horrendously windy. It was, the weather forecast said like 10 to 12 miles an hour wind, and it was gusting like at least 20 miles an hour. Because I remember flying, I was going in one direction using about half throttle on quite a big plane, and it says I'm doing like 30 kilometers an hour. I was like, that's not very quick. And I turned around and didn't change the throttle, and I was doing 127 kilometers an hour, which probably means, it's quite windy. And when I was just flying in a straight line in a certain direction, I was just like moving like a crab. So I had to come in this weird diagonal landing on this weird corner of the field and try and get in across. But it was. I'd say it was fun. It was a bit stressful because it was very blowy.
It was a challenge, interesting challenge.
It's a challenge. It's always a bit. I mean, from a good point of view, launching a big plane like that into wind is effortless. But you do go sort of up like a rocket, and sort of, oops, I'm already at 180 meters. I seem to have accidentally broken the law because it's just gone zoom. It's like, let me just get control of this again and bring it back down, and we'll be okay. But yeah, it's getting like the thumbnail says, it's getting a bit autumnal out there now, isn't it? It's cold in the mornings and windy, and well, it's just cold. Now it's raining. It's been raining all day.
See, there's Andy RC in the chat. He's been flying recently. He's been.
Andy was doing some great head tricking.
And yeah.
Hey, you guys have been on your on the wing stuff, eh?
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, I saw your recent video.
Yeah, my head tracking was. I suddenly realised after I got there that head tracking just on a pan versus what Andy was doing with a proper pan tilt is no fun, because you're like left, right. It's like, oh, I feel I'm working too hard now. I just do that on the radio. It's much easier. But if you got a proper pan tilt system, then you can look about properly.
That would be a pretty cool experience, I bet. That's something I've never experienced before, is A, flying a wing, and B, head tracking. Because you could set a wing on a course, right? And just kind of like look around, and
you could do. Although not many wings tend to have panning or tilting cameras. It's more of a traditional fixed wing plane for that sort of thing. Wings are always like keeping it sort of smooth and aerodynamic.
Oh,
and
that's right.
You often don't see anything because the camera's often right at the front. Whereas if you put it sort of further back in a traditional wing, what I love to do, and if you go into a turn, you look over the wing and sort of glance and what's happening as you go into your turn. That's pretty cool. And Andy was flying that scale stuff where he's probably got a little cockpit, so he can look all about and good for chasing.
And he was doing some nice aerobatics.
Mm.
He was trying to find some tricks that people hadn't done FPV head tracking and stuff on YouTube before. So he's got a challenge out. I can't remember which one it was, but there was something that you reckon no one had done and posted on YouTube before. So I don't know if he's had any challenges to that yet. Maybe let us know.
It's a good question.
The competition has begun.
Yeah, I haven't flown much recently. I've got my wing. Where is it? There, that I've recovered, and so it's nice and colourful now. And
so it's the crashed one from the racing.
That's the one. Yeah, I reckon I can get another race or two out of that now. Now that it's slightly less floppy than it was when I last tried to fly it. Because last time I was trying to fly it, it was quite windy, and about halfway through the day, I think the wind had sort of taken the last of its fatigue life out of the airframe. So I was sort of putting in full stick left, full stick right, and just nothing was happening. It was just sort of carrying on. I could throttle up and it would go further upwind, or I could throttle back and it would go back downwind, and that was about all the control I had. So I just sort of ended up just ditching it in a field somewhere downwind, and had to go and retrieve it and give up on the racing for that day. which is a bit disappointing. But it's now got added carbon. It's got added covering, so it's a bit stiffer, a bit more rigid, a bit more durable. So
Don't forget the control rod.
Oh yeah, I've got carbon fiber control rods on there now because the control rods on there before had sort of become cheese, where the servo would move and the control surface would just stay in the same position, and the control rods would just flex in shapes. It was like, yeah, that's.
What were they previously then? Just really thin piano wire or something?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Whee.
Yeah.
I had the same problem making a cardboard plane, but the problem was the fact that my surfaces were cardboard. So when I said up, it's just like I'm just going to flex around it, and it didn't react that well, really.
So on those types of wings you guys are flying, because pardon me for being completely ignorant to that realm, but is it flight controller based? Is it just PWM, or like how does that all work?
So for the racing, the requirement is that it can't be in any stabilized mode. So lots of people do fly with a flight controller, but put it in manual. I fly mine without a flight controller because I can't be bothered setting something up that I'm not then going to be using.
Yeah.
So mine's just literally a receiver, a couple of servos, ESC motor. That's FPV transmitter and camera, and that's it. That's all I've got on there. The battery, hopefully, for most of the time.
Interesting. Yeah. Just simplified setup. Yeah.
Absolutely. Bare minimum. Because it's a Flying Wings Raven. So I believe it was like originally just a slope soaring wing, and they've sort of threw in the kit an extra little bit to put a motor on the back. And I've put on some old Cobra motor that was just kicking around, and so I've
Where did you get that from, Frank? Where you had it for a while? Because I've got an old Flying Wings Raven. When they tried to have the idea of wing racing, they brought out this kit for the Raven race.
I bought it then and built it last year. So it was about 4 years that it was sitting around not doing anything. I may or may not have some other kits within reach that have also been gradually building up their vintage ready to fly. But I haven't built them either. There's one. In fact, I was looking at a scratch build guide tutorial the other day, and I was like, I really want to build one of those. I've got the laser cutter at work. I can laser cut some stuff, and I can put something together. And then I realized I already had the kit for this, and I just haven't built it, and I'd forgotten about it. So I should probably build that before laser cutting another one. That's things I buy them, and then I buy them when they're available, and that's usually like in the summer. And then I don't want to be building it in the summer. I want to be flying it, so I put it away and leave it till the winter, and then I forget about it and find something else to do in the winter. So I should probably build some of these things. I've got what other kits have I got? So yeah, I've got that like an F-22 profile plane. I've got a wing. Is it a wing? What's the tiny one? It's a very, very small one.
What, the Z84?
Possibly.
Wing.
Yeah. Is that a tiny one? I know I've got a tiny one. It's like 400 mil or something ridiculous.
Tiny. Does it look like? Let me find my one.
That'd be squirrely.
The Spec K from what do they call themselves? But Brady, who runs does a lot of the wing racing, he cuts that. I've got one of. No, it's not. Spec K is from the other guy from wing racing. Oh my god, Prototype RC Spec K. But I've got one of Brady's other wing kits, and I've got quite a few things.
Were you saying about have you got a flight test arrow that you need to build?
Probably. No, I've got an F-22 profile.
Yeah. Because I bought one of those, and it was the guy in the UK cutting them, so it wasn't flight test foam. It was like mount board, which produced off gases when you laser cut it, and it's super poisonous. And it just doesn't. You can't peel a layer of the coating off, and you can't bend it how like the flight test foam stuff does. And it was a complete waste of time because as soon as I crashed it, it really did just crack in half.
Just exploded into the shatters, does it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a shame. Tiny Wing, yes, that's the one. The LDARC Tiny Wing. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, that's
the trouble
different.
is, there's so many companies that don't exist anymore.
Yep.
As well. Just like Flying Wing and all that.
I've got the Tyro 69 that
I was thinking of this one. This is the Wing Z84, which I turned into a bottle rocket plane, which is a small wing. But it never really worked that well to me. It worked better as a bottle rocket plane than a plane. But I don't know the Tiny Wing one. You'll have to show me that one.
So I guess back to my ignorance and lack of knowledge for this stuff. So there's wings, but then which are like the little foam ones, I guess, and then there's fixed wing. Is that?
Well, more traditional fixed wing as opposed to like a wing.
Like
flying wing.
With a cockpit and a wing and a tail and a
the tail and the unless it's a V-tail, tail and the vertical stabilizers as opposed to a thing that looks like a bit like a triangle.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the triangle arrowhead things are called flying wings.
Flying wings. Okay. Huh.
So.
Not in my hands. They're crashing wings.
Crashing wings. So
drink.
I think I've seen the arrow-y type ones, where people will equip them with GPS and stuff like that, right? Is that, and then even with like GoPros and stuff, or is that too heavy for those? Or
you can get big ones that will carry. There's even like
ones.
Yeah, you can get very small ones.
That's cool.
That.
Yeah,
what is that? I like
that.
that.
This right up. This was called the Wee Wing. It was made by a guy I used to know in a forum. He cut the Depron for it, and we flew them around for a while. They were good fun. It's the type of wing you can crash into people's heads, and they just moan a bit at you instead of dying, which is fun. But yeah, that's if you imagine that scaled up.
Yeah.
Then you can put all sorts of stuff into it. You can full flight controller and GoPros and whatever's.
Matt Stubbs, who does a lot of the wing racing as well, he's got one that's big enough that he does have a pan servo on it and can pan around in it. He's got full DJI and loads of LEDs and all that kind of stuff.
Oh wow!
Off Axis is doing a 3D printing tiny wing challenge on his Discord.
Oh, that's cool.
Cool. Also got a 3D printer somewhere. Where's my 3D printer?
That is another thing I haven't gotten into yet myself is 3D printing, which is like a blessing and a curse because I have to rely on other people for 3D prints, but I also don't have to go down the 3D printing rabbit hole. Yeah. So there's a bit of a
seems trade-off. Ideal.
Yeah, it seems like okay, once you have your settings dialed and say you're only printing TPU and you're good, then okay, great. But once you start mixing, I guess, different filaments and whatever, it seems like a lot to really wrap your head around and tinker with.
Yeah, it feels to me like if you've got a 3D printer that's working, you want lots of friends who need things 3D printing so that you can keep it warm and busy and not cooling down and gathering dust, because that seems like how to get your 3D printer to not work anymore. It feels like you need to set aside like a good few days to get your 3D printer back up and running after you've left it sat there for more than like a few days.
Huh.
So that's my take anyway. Things may have changed.
The engine's warm. Yeah.
That used to be my experience with my homemade one, which is like, oh, it's gone wrong again. Hold on, let me get the spanner. It's like, make it work again. But my current Creality one seems to just work It's actually, I just last time I used it, I just put my SD card in, said print, wandered off, expected it just to get its height right and just do the print perfectly, and I just came back and it's like, oh, it's just sitting there quite happily. It's like things have moved on in the last 10 years of 3D printing.
That does sound good. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about like when it was either a 20k bit of industrial equipment or a laser cut kit that you put together yourself. So
Richard Warwick. Yeah, this is actually I just read about, or I saw about this online. So Louis Rossman, Mr. Mac board repair guy, I guess sort of was, I guess, or sort of is. I don't know if he does as much anymore these days, but he did a piece about apparently the state of New York. I don't know if it's like fully happening or not, but they're saying you'll need like a license and like have to do like a background check to do 3D printing. I don't know like if it's, real or not, or like how like true it's going to be, but I guess they're worried about people 3D printing like, weapons and such. So yeah.
I saw a comment from XJet put a community post on YouTube about that as well, which sounds kind of ridiculous given that you can just buy guns in America with less of a background check. It would seem.
Yeah.
It's like cut the middleman out. It's like you can buy them, you can't make them. Or it's kind of like saying everybody that drives a car will have to be background checks just in case they deliberately run people over.
Yeah.
Or chefs can't use knives unless they've been. It's just everything can be a deadly weapon used in a certain way. It's like put that sandwich down and come at you with it. Death by ham and cheese.
Forced eating. Oh god, that would suck.
I feel like a pipe bomb doesn't require very much. Like if you really wanted to.
Any views or
any views expressed? Yeah. That's the.
It does kind of mirror the whole like drone thing. It's like, oh, you've got a drone, you're up to no good, because that's easier to believe than a bunch of grown men having like fun flying toys around the field, I suppose. They're trying to spy on people and get up to no good
crashing into each other. Yeah.
Like
I think if they realise the level of skill that we don't have, it's quite, like when you first learn to fly, you're elated once you finally like finish a battery or two. I think.
Yeah, if I got to go home and my tricopter wasn't in bits in a bag, I'd be really happy. Yeah. I remember the first time I flew all my 4 batteries and my tricopter wasn't broken, and that was like several months into flying. Other than that point, I was buying wood in bulk to replace the arms every single time I flew it because I would just break one.
Well, interestingly, on the Screaming Props podcast recently, I heard them saying that with just a couple of hours on a simulator, you could be ready to fly without any problems at all. So there's a challenge. If anyone knows anyone who doesn't know how to fly, I would be interested to know how true that is. Maybe that is
true. Cole's living proof of that, I think.
Well, that I mean, fair play, because the thing is, dude, I put in so many hours on the sim though before, but I think before,
you were waiting for stuff, weren't you?
Yeah, but so I will say this: the first time I ever had a remote control, a radio, whatever, it was the Beta FPV Light Radio 2. It was just just for the sim to learn. It did take me, I would say, a good 5+ times of like going in the sim and like just to be able to actually take off in liftoff and be able to maintain some level of flying. And it was definitely hours. It wasn't just like, okay, I'm good. I mean, it's not that easy at first. I don't think it's I guess maybe some people have some like miraculous brain power, they can like somehow work it out, but I was like, honestly, I was like, okay, well, good thing I only bought the Light Radio 2 because I don't think I can do this. Yeah, but obviously practice, and I feel like I put in like at least 50 hours, maybe like 50 to 100 hours before I even flew in real life. And once you get the hang of it in the sim before real life, I mean, I can honestly say I haven't ever fully broken, like I haven't fully demolished an entire quad. So, if you are new and you want to get into the hobby, get a cheap radio, get in the sim, put in your hours until you're comfortable, and then wait on parts or whatever, however you want to get into, if you want to buy binding flies. But
well, that was what they were saying as well. Is like that now binding flies are good enough that you don't need to ever build anything yourself. I'm thinking back, when I was getting into it. I mean, there was the simulator. There was also like the Hubsan X4, like a little indoor cheap thing that you just enough to learn throttle control and that kind of thing, and sort of the dynamics of something flying with multiple rotors.
Yeah.
I mean, I found that helpful. But I guess if you can just, like you say, have something that is good enough in your simulator that you can then just go straight to like a bind and fly, I guess that works. Presumably.
Yeah, and actually, Curry, your sim, I think, was actually the very first sim I ever tried out, because I had access to Liftoff, I think a couple other ones, but yeah, your sim was like the actual first simulator game program, whatever you want to call it, that I opened and tried to play around with. So yeah,
yay me! I'm responsible for all. I take full responsibility. Back when I was a lad, or when I first started flying, there weren't no simulators.
No.
Or binding flies. You just went out and crashed stuff.
Yeah, that's what I had, was FPV Freerider.
That came out 2000, I want to say 15, something like that. It was sometime. What the only thing that worries me about sim, and I'm sure it's true, and Cole's living proof, I think more than a couple of hours, is that I'm an amazing line of sight fixed wing pilot in a sim. I can go around knife edging and just flying upside down everywhere. In real life, I get very stressed, and sometimes I can land it, and that's about it. I was like, oh, geez, that was stressful.
Yeah.
Please, can I have my FPV goggles on? This is the least stressful thing to fly, line of sight, because if you crash it, it weighs like a tissue, so it just goes pop, and you're fine. But everything else, I'm so stressed flying line of sight, because it's like I've got to land this, and then I'll just it a turn, and my triangle looks the same in different directions. Lost it completely, and now I don't know what's going on, and it's stressing me. Put me on a sim, it's amazing. It's like watching some display pilot, but in real life, like as Andy RC says, there's no reset button in real life, and that stresses you out a bit. That's my only worry.
I don't understand that, because I can't fly line of sight in a simulator just because there's only 3 pixels, and trying to work out which way it's going is just unless it's right up against the camera, it's just impossible. And in real life, I've got more HD vision than the screen.
Yeah,
I think what's happened. Sorry, Cole. I think what's happened is where I got so used to flying quads, a few feet off the ground, I now take that approach to planes, which is the really wrong thing you do. People talk about being 2 mistakes high for a reason, and if you're trying to fly them 1 foot off the ground and you make a very slight cock up, it's hit the ground before you've even noticed you've made the cock up. So that's my fault. If you're up high and you lose orientation, you can just wiggle on the sticks a bit and see which ways it goes. It's like, oh, there it is. And even if it starts spinning down towards the ground, you've got a chance of pulling it out again.
Yeah, see, for me, I'll line of sight. Well, okay, I've done some and very minimal line of sight with a quad. Maybe in my apartment, just to when I've built, or fixed up a quad and just do a little hover test or whatever, or even just outside. But I find that I need to keep it low, because the moment that it starts getting up high, and if I turn, I am I have to disarm, and I have to keep the back towards me. I have to keep the orientation. I can't turn the orientation, because once I do that, I can fly it away, I can fly it back, I can fly it to the side, but get me turned around, and if I give too much throttle, well, I might be losing that drone. Yeah, It is actually kind of fun. Like I remember a few times I would bring out line of sight. I only had maybe like 3/4 of a pack left, and I'm like, well, I can't really do much, so let's just practice, hovering line of sight and whatever. It is kind of fun to, blip the throttle, do a little roll and catch it, and sort of like, just play around in front of you with it instead of sending it out. I don't know how the plane guys do that, or the heli guys, I should say.
The heli guys are the ones that seem to.
That's-
I can only suggest that it's all in the fun memory, because there's no way they can say, oh, I just need to roll it half over and then tick-tock back and then invert it and then to make it go up. It's like, you've just learned this. It's kind of like Street Fighter, it's like the Hadouken is like forward, down. It's like that. They've learned these special moves.
Yeah, they have the special tricks like muscle memory. Yeah. Oh,
It's
man.
like Resident Evil tank controls. I just know it from doing it. I don't really think about it.
Exactly.
It's like-
already.
Yeah.
Oh,
But,
if
yeah,
you gave me the controller for Resident Evil, I have no chance. It's just impossible. It just keeps changing.
But that's it. Even when you get like in a quad, if I can fly forwards and carry on going, then I can do a loop, because keep flying forwards, you can just amend your position and bring it round.
Yeah.
But if you then think about, okay, I'm in a heli and I've tried some heli flying. I didn't get to doing this year, and I can sort of nose in hover, and it's like, okay, everything's reversed. But as soon as you get to 3D, it's like, okay, now turn upside down, nose in, and like, okay, this is the right way round, but now something else is reversed, and my throttle doesn't work the same way as it used to. It's like, it completely blows your mind. And those guys, I mean, again, I'm much better on a simulator than I am in real life. I can fly inverted brilliantly on my sim, but I've not even tried it once on an actual heli, because I'm still struggling just to fly circuits. NJ gave me some decent tips last time. He said I was trying to put far too much sort of roll into my turns. He's just like, lead in with your rudder, just go forward and rudder it round, rather than try and coordinate the turns like you would in the quad straight away. So it's some tips there, I guess. But yeah, they're hard.
That is another rabbit hole I would like to wander down at some point. But
yeah,
I would like somewhere that I could fly comfortably and not worry about being mugged. So we'll wait a while.
That's a fair point. Yeah, that seems reasonable. Yeah. But
How's the bike doing? Sorry,
the
Carl.
bike.
That's all right.
The bike is back in the garage where it should be in this weather.
Fair enough. Sorry, Carl. What were you going to say?
Yeah. So, well, I sort of a slight detour here, but I was curious if any of you lads have ventured into the world of iNav before, or please explain to me, because I'm coming from KISS. I don't know anything about any other flight controllers. So how does it work as far as there's all these manufacturers, and you can flash beta flight and yada yada. Do those same manufactured boards, you can flash iNav to it, or does iNav need a specific thing, or maybe like how does that all work?
You can generally take a board that will run beta flight and run iNav on it. There are possibly some exceptions, but generally speaking, you can just install whichever firmware you like and run with it.
Yeah.
Are you thinking into iNav? iNav I've only done on planes before, or have I? No, I have done it on one quad before, as well as a test.
Yeah,
but it was annoying because you had to put a compass on a stalk, and it made the quad look stupid. Well, are you thinking, because you were talking about GPS earlier? Is this what you're thinking about?
Yeah, I was, because I mean, apparently iNav has some really great like return to home and just like overall GPS functionality, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't.
But the Ultras will do that.
Yeah, but do I want to send my Ultra out into the Taiwan mountains to never be retrieved again?
Yeah.
Wow,
true.
that really demonstrates how expensive KISS stuff is, doesn't it?
Well, and not just the expensive price of it; it's
just getting hold of another one.
The availability, right? So, like, part of me is like, okay, I do have some old Kiss stuff. I do have a Kiss Ultra, but maybe I should build something that's, meant for longer range. I mean, that's what I hear, is that iNav is kind of like a long range, whatever. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I come from a lot of lack of knowledge in this hobby as far as anything other than 5-inch freestyle with Kiss, and I would really love to venture off into long range 7-inch Li-ion sort of territory, because I am going to Taiwan, in the future. So I would like to be able to have something that's A, not going to only fly for 5 minutes, and B, potentially could, come back to me if all else fails.
I think both are worth exploring. I tend to think on quads that iNav could be overkill, because it's very good in what it does, but it's got stuff like position hold, and it will return to home and land and stuff like that, and you can put waypoints in it and it will fly that for you. But in terms of the sort of flying you're doing, it seems to me that beta flight is possibly enough, because the idea of putting a GPS on a quad and having rescue mode is like, something's happened and I've either lost video or I've lost the radio link, and therefore I don't just want it to drop to the floor. And at that point, it says, okay, turn around and I will start coming home. At the point where you recover control link or you recover the video link, you say, I'm taking control over back. If you just sort of, well, I'm just going to wait here till it lands now, that would be like a bit dull. You can sort of take back your flight again and start flying it. I think
it's kind of like the Mavics, right? Like, say you lose whatever, it's going to return to home, but then once you have everything back, you can cancel the return to home and then just take back over again, right? So
exactly. And I think the thing with anytime you're talking about, especially with Betaflight, because the GPS thing was a bit of an afterthought, but they seem to be developing it more now, is you've got to build up a lot of trust with these things and test it a lot and make sure it works, which currently on my 7-inch, I don't have much trust, because it kept falling out of the sky and now the motors are broken. But if you sort of go out and you check return to home and it does the right thing and it comes back, and you can tune those figures slightly to make sure it's always going to, like, every time I'm going to make a flight, I will just flick rescue mode test on, make sure it rises, comes back towards me. If it starts doing that, I take the mode out again and I can go off on my fly. But these days, with Express LRS and a decent VTX, you will go a long way into Taiwan, right up to the legal limit, I expect. Yeah, if you want to. And I was trying to test out 4,000 milliamp hour Li-ion batteries with my 7-inch, and unfortunately mine fell out of the sky after 17 minutes. But at that point I was on about 3.3, and the Li-ions would go down to 2.5. So I was going to take it to 3 as a safety measure, and that would get me at least 20 minutes, I figured. And that was sort of a slow cruise. But depending what you were doing, it's like you can go very fast for like 10, 12 minutes. I think you'd cover a lot of distance and see a lot.
I mean, like,
because we were all quite interested in your last flight you did, and we're like, go further, find the jungle over the other side.
Well, so because I know I kind of got a tease for it, and I'm like, well, if I can do this with this, what can I like? Well, my other thought was, okay, I've done some testing just with my 5-inch. I know 5-inch is not a long range at all. You're not supposed to, because it's too heavy or it's too whatever. But I'm able to get about 6 to 7 minutes with a new battery if I'm just like cruising. If I'm just maybe 2/3, or maybe like half throttle, or just whatever, like just cruising speed. I'm not going crazy. I'm not doing any throttle blips. And I mean, 6 to 7 minutes that seems okay, but 10 to 15 minutes might be, a little nicer. I mean, I did think about maybe putting one of those, Rush Solo or whatever VTXs in a 5-inch and just maybe get a higher capacity pack and just hoping for the best, but it's not an ideal situation. I know that. So that's why I'm like, I got to get into this sort of 7-inch realm because, efficiency and whatnot. Right. So
I think so, because although
Yeah, the
if
cheapest.
you fly a 5-inch carefully, you can get like up to about 9 minutes out of it. You've always got that level of anxiety with like, how long have I been going? Do I have to turn around now? If you've got like 10 minutes out, or you've got something that reads like your million hours spent, and you know exactly what it will do, you've got a lot of, and obviously you've done practice flights and you know what you can get, then you've got an awful lot of confidence about what you've got and how long you've got before you get worried. I mean, you still have to take into account, like, what if there's like a headwind coming back or something like that, or it changes, but
you always want to give yourself some extra. Yeah. It's, I mean, the other thing too, as far as when I was in Taiwan last time, like, I wasn't standing in an ideal spot. I could have been standing in a little bit better spot, so I would have had better, video line of sight or whatever. I mean, I trust my crossfire. Like, I'm not trying to go out like 5-10 kilometers. I'm trying to, I want to go as far as I'm comfortable going and come back. And I'm not trying to break any records here or anything, but I would like to get that sort of sense of, I want to send it out there and not have to be like, oh crap, my 5 inches gone forever. You know what I mean? Like, so, I mean, I talked to Jack about this before. I do have, like, I have an old Alien that Jack was saying, like, maybe throw some 6 or 7 inch arms on it, and converting it into something like that. I guess then the other
lower
question,
KV motors.
Yeah, then that was my other question. Then is
need.
Yeah, but what about ESCs though? Because I might need some more headroom on ESCs, or
no, because you would be drawing
less
current. Yeah, because you can't draw that much out of the lithium-ion pack.
More efficient.
And you wouldn't. Yeah, and even if you didn't want to go that route, you could use a bigger lipo and use the whole space of the top deck and not worry about having a GoPro for now and just have DVR. And I just think that would be like,
I'm not going to go to Taiwan and just fly and just have analog DVR though, if I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I know, but I'm talking about, as you're not then buying a shit ton of like lithium ion packs.
True.
You're like, whilst you're practicing.
Oh, practice wise,
experience. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, because you can always move the, move the, the gear over to, a different platform if you get more into it, and then splash out on some lithium ion packs. But you could essentially be running like, 4S, like 1800. That takes the whole top deck of the Alien. The KISS has got, with Alex's firmware, has got return to home on it. You've already got a GPS. You add that, and you just get some lower KV motors.
True.
And they don't even have to be like, like the best brand ever. It could just be.
Well, what about? Could you not, like, say, have a higher KV motor, but then just do a throttle limit on it or something? Or is that an option? Or,
well, yeah, you can, but you want to go lower KV.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Where's the efficiency point on that is the question.
Yeah. It's I mean,
as Jack was saying, the thing with Li-ion is that they don't support you drawing that many amps. So as soon as you put that on, you are talking about like, it's a nice slow cruise. It's not like, oh, I'm 2 miles into the jungle, I'm just going to dive this tree and just zip up and do an inverted yaw spin over the top of it or something.
Have you ever flown like really low battery and not realised it, and your quad's just like all of a sudden just dying out on you, and you're like going full throttle and it just nothing happens? That's the experience you'll have with lithium ion. You go to draw just it
slowly,
and you won't have it.
Yeah,
it won't do anything. You don't have like that instant punch.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to do anything crazy. I mean, when you see like the guys that do the mountain dives though, like, is that still with like a 7-inch with a Li-ion, or can you really pull out from something like that? Like, say
no, like if you're talking about like what's Falconrad, isn't it, that does those ones?
Exactly.
He's 7-inch, and he's using massive. I think he was using sort of 8,000 milliamp hour Li-ion on those things. And of course, the bigger the battery gets, the more ampage it will give you. But of course, it's got that extra weight that you've got to carry as well.
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, if you see him, he's doing a very slow and steady move up.
Ascend,
and of course, on his descent, he can go fast because he's just dropping down.
True.
But as soon as he comes out of it, he's not suddenly zipping up. He's pulling out slowly, and he's coming back slowly up again to do it.
Yeah, like Caroline says, the pack she's building 35 amp max draw.
Off access, I'll have to hit you up, man, because it seems like you do that kind of flying, because it's obviously I want to consult people that are doing precisely like if they're consistently doing what I'm hoping to do. They obviously are gonna be good people for reference. So yeah, I'll you can. I'll try and find you on YouTube or Facebook off access, and I might have some questions for you. But
yeah, I mean that's you've kind of given yourself a bit of a taste for it.
Yeah.
Like going out and doing that, but then you're kind of then looking at sort of like building your trust with your gear and the sort of experience. And yeah, you're kind of, if you go head first and sort of buy all new, like build the setup that's proven by someone else,
yeah,
that's fine. But then if you make a rookie mistake, it's game over.
It's gone.
Whereas you're looking at 4 motors, 3 or 4 arms, and and then pissing with the cock you got, and kind of finding your feet.
Yeah, instead of going, tits out and spend a bunch of money on it's, I guess, there's two sides of it, right? It's like I got to figure out which one I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And that does, I mean, as far as like economically, that's the best way, is just kind of like, use what I have, and a couple motors is not too bad. So
yeah, but like equally, you kind of know you do enjoy it, but
I do.
It's whether you can afford to lose that quad on practicing.
Well, exactly. Yeah, and that's why I figured I'd ask you guys, because I'm sure you guys, you guys had some experience. I know Curry, you've been kind of messing around with the 7-inch stuff, and it's a new territory for me, man. But if I'm gonna be in locations that, you're
there for a day and you can't surge
or like
days on end.
Well, or not even just that, but if I'm gonna be in locations where I should be using a long range quad, then I don't want to just be flying a 5-inch quad. You know what I mean? Like it's
it's a set of arms that will change that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like
I'll figure it out.
There is ways of, like, if you do go to like a Falconard like route, you can do stuff like by the diversity system. The diversity nano, and then it has like a battery and it goes into lost mode and will beacon for days. You can follow Curry Kitten and have those annoying alarms that if you forget to turn off, they'll go off in the back of your car.
They're the right things.
Yeah, and obviously stick a big old SD card in your in the
goggles
transmitter, then it will and it will save the last GPS locations.
On the subject of long range quads, I've been doing a couple of things with Speedy Bee lately, and they haven't offered to give me anything like this, but I saw this on their website. What did you think of this for a good travel long range drone? We've kind of fallen out of favor with things that fold these days, but this is an 8-inch folding drone.
Wow.
And it's designed to take like up to 2 big Li-ion packs on its back, so you can hook them up in parallel.
Wow.
I think it's pretty interesting looking.
You'd need the folding props for it as well, though, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I suppose you have to take those off. But it's like, oh yeah, we didn't tell you that we took the props off for that picture. It's like, damn it, that would be better.
Could
But
you make 8-inch fly blades?
You could do. The only thing about traveling with big quads is they're big quads, I suppose, and a 7-inch is a bit more hard to put on your backpack than a 5-inch. But look, you can just put it in your case or backpack or whatever. And
yeah, I did wonder that. Like, how much bigger is a 7-inch than a 5-inch? Is it considerable? Like, is it?
Has it got canards? Is it advertising canards?
I don't know. Hang on, I've got props. Let's have a look.
Nervous.
Like the prop size is, it's obviously 2 inches more, but like the frame itself, I guess it's still the arms are 2 inches longer, I guess, or
the arms will be an inch longer, right? Because it's half an inch on either side.
Ah, true.
Okay, 5-inch drone, 7-inch drone. They can't fit them all in.
Well, without the props, it's not okay. It is bigger, but it's not like
this is. I think the difference as well is if you look at the body section for the top of the frame, that is reasonably short. If you look at this one, it's very long, so you can put like a lot on here. This is designed to have like a GoPro there.
Yeah,
you can fit on 2 big batteries there. It's actually set up so you can put batteries on the bottom as well.
Oh wow!
The idea is you've got a choice of putting the top or bottom, but it's.
And
I
your
mean,
RPG
this one is fairly big. It's got big arms there, and it's kind of dead cat style, so you don't see the props and stuff in the view. But they feel a lot bigger, and they sound a lot different because they're different than these little guys. And this is quite chunky. This would be a lovely quad if it. It's a bit of a problem quad. It's the problem.
Yeah,
I don't know if I can ever trust it, even if we get the new motors and it flies.
Yeah, I saw you were having a bit of a pain with it. Yeah.
Andy in the chat is recommending the Flywoo LR4. It's a 4-inch.
4-inch.
What sort of range are you getting on the 4-inch compared to a 7-inch? That would be interesting to know.
I see. This is what I was kind of wondering too, because I saw people talking about like a 4-inch ultralight, which I think this is what that is.
I suppose your only problem there is, do you want to take a GoPro with it? If you have a naked GoPro,
I would have to have a
naked
naked
GoPro.
GoPro.
Saying it will fly good 30 minutes. That's a long time.
Yeah, which means that I'm gonna have to. Yeah, I would have to do the whole naked GoPro thing.
No, he lives in the world of HD and bloody
3R units. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's getting HD footage anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. See, that's the thing is like, as much as I want to just send it out and fly, I want good footage. Like, I'm not going to fly out. Well, me personally, coming from the video background, I don't want to send my drone out X amount of kilometers into the friggin' mountains and get this epic shot. And then I come home with analog DVR from my Fat Shark goggles. You know what I mean? Like it is cool. And I actually still love looking at my DVR, and there's nothing wrong with it. But having 5.3K resolution video of that is like, it's next level for me, I guess. But
of course, you could just fly your DJI out there. It'd be a boring flight, but it would still look pretty.
It would look it would look really great. But how am I gonna dive down the side of a friggin' mountain and then
sport mode,
special firmware,
special effects, post processing.
Yeah. Oh gosh, it's like, okay, let's tilt the gimbal down and then do some crazy Ken Burns zooms, and it's FPV, guys, I swear.
Cole trying to fly his Mavic before he got his real quad.
Oh, the other thing too is and I know we're getting close to time, but up in elevation, the air's thinner, right? So you have to adjust your PIDs and that type of stuff, right? It's from what I've heard and from what I've read, it's the air's thinner the higher you go up, so there's a lot of stuff you have to sort of.
I think off-axis makes a different point about the wind up there, which is saying long range in the mountains isn't for anything smaller than 7-inch big drone. The wind and air here will take your little 4-inch wannabe long range drone to death.
Yeah. And that's kind of also what I heard when I talked to some local guys about going ultralight 4-inch, and they're like, well, yes, you can, but just like off axis is saying, the wind and stuff up there is pretty serious, probably. So, and if he's in BC, then I don't know quite how high the elevation gets there, but I think the elevation to where I'm going to be going is probably around it's not like crazy. I mean, maybe like between 3,000 and 6,000. Is it AGL or is that
Is that feet or meters?
That's above ground level.
I think meters. Yeah, got to be meters. Yeah.
Seems quite a way up, but there's no hills round here that size.
No.
So in the UK, we're like, well, that's foreign mountains. That is.
Yeah.
We just got little smooth lumps.
Oh, if the drone's not doing 10 kilometers round trip, it's not long range. Yeah. Yeah, it's. Oh man, yeah, I'm excited, scared, and very nervous at the same time. But I have to do it. There's something inside me being like, do it. It's like Shia LaBeouf is on my shoulder, and he's just like, yeah. It just seems like such a the taste that I've gotten of it. It's a totally different feeling than just ripping around, freestyling or cruising. Once you send it out there, your heart starts pumping in a different way. It's I don't know. It's crazy.
That's true. And plus, you get the excitement of exploring.
That's all we got time for, unfortunately.
Well,
we should give a shout out to what's coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, yes.
Who we got next week? I forgot.
So we've got Mario FPV on next week, talking about Open IPC and the potential future of open source HD FPV stuff. And the following week, we have Dave Allen talking about the alphabet soup of the BDRA and BMFA, WDRC and EMHC FPV sets.
Oh, God.
Wow. That is impressive, Frank, how you've got all those letters out.
Yep. So, yeah, we've got those to look forward to.
Sweet.
Well, that's all we got time for. Thank you to all our lovely, wonderful Patreons. Keep this show on the road. You've been joined by everyone's favourite curry kitten.
Goodbye.
Our Lord and Master, Andrew / Frank.
Bye.
My buddy Cole.
See ya.
And I've been Brian Tollify. Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I can't